Welcome to another video, the chapter 5, Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. In this chapter, we study about the early kingdoms are there and how some men become rulers and what are the rituals they conducted like that. So, how some men become rulers? Around 3000 years ago, some men become recognized as rajas by performing big sacrifice. It includes the Ashwamedha or horse sacrifice. And in this ritual, a horse was let loose to wander freely and it was guarded by the raja's men. A horse was let loose to wander freely and it was guarded by raja's men. If the horse wandered into the kingdom of other rajas and they stopped it, they had to fight. If they stop the horse, they need to fight. Or if they allowed the horse to pass, it means that they accepted that the rajas who wanted to perform the sacrifice was stronger than them. So imagine if you are one raja and you conducting a Ashwamedha, then you let loose a horse of you let it loose to wander freely and it is guarded by your men. That is, you are the Raja and your Raja's men, it is guarded by them. If another Raja stopped that, you need to fight him. Otherwise, if he accepted the horse, accepted to pass it, it means that Raja accepted your superiority, that you are stronger than them. So, the Rajas who organized the sacrifice was recognized as being very powerful, and all those who came brought gifts for him. So, in Ashwamedha Yaga, the Raja was a central figure in this ritual. He often had a special seat, a throne, or a tiger skin. So, in here, the Raja was a special figure or the central figure in this ritual. And especially his wives and sons had to perform a variety of minor rituals also. The other Rajas who accepted the superiority of him were simply spectators who had to sit and watch the performance of the sacrifice. Priests performed the rituals including sprinkling of sacred water on the king. So, the rituals performed by priest is sprinkling of sacred water on the king. The ordinary people, the Vish or Vaishya, also brought gifts. However, some people, such as those who were regarded as Shudras by the priest, were excluded from many rituals. So, the Shudras are excluded from many rituals. The ordinary people like Vish or Vaishya, they brought gifts to the Rajas. And the priest, they perform rituals by sprinkling of sacred water on the king. We know about the Varnas. It is a social category. It includes 4 social categories, namely Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishya and Shudras. The Brahmins were expected to study and teach the Vedas, perform sacrifices and receive gifts. Kshatriyas, they were expected to fight battles and protect people. Vaishya, to be farmers, herders and traders. That are their common peoples, Vaishya. And the Shudras were expected to serve the other 3 groups. So, to serve the above 3 groups, the Shudras are expected to serve the other 3 groups. There are these 3 groups, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. So here we see about painted grey-ware. Plates and bowls are the most common vessels made out of painted grey-ware. These were extremely fine to touch with a nice smooth surface. Perhaps these were used on a special occasion or for important people and to serve special food. So what about painted grey-ware? These are plates and bowls, and which is commonly made out of painted grey-ware. And what are the features of it? It is extremely fine to touch with a nice smooth surface. Janapadas. The Rajas who performed these big sacrifices were now recognized as being Rajas of Janapadas rather than Janas. The word Janapada literally means the land where the Jana set its foot. Archaeologists have excavated a number of settlements in these Janapadas, such as Puranakila in Delhi, Hastinapura near Meerut. They found that people lived in huts and kept cattle as well as other animals. They also grew a variety of crops: rice, wheat, barley, pulses, sugarcane, etc. And they made earthen pots. Some were grey in color and other were red. And these sites known as painted greyware. Now we study about Mahajanapadas. About 2500 years ago, some Janapadas became more important than the others and were known as Mahajanapadas. Some of these shown on the map 4. The most Mahajanapadas had a capital city and many of these were fortified. So here we see an important feature, that is the most Mahajanapada had a capital city and many of these were fortified, which means the huge walls of wood, brick or stone were built around them. So they are fortified. It is to safeguard them, the capital city. So why they fortify their capital city? It is for protection, and other is the rulers wanted to show how rich and powerful they were by building really large things. So by building really large and tall and impressive walls around the cities, they show their powerful and the richness of them. And the people living inside the fortified area could be controlled more easily by the king. And we know the building of such huge walls require a great deal of planning and also enormous labors. So in this picture we see about the fortification wall at Kaushambi. This is a picture of remain of wall made of brick found near present day of Allahabad, Uttar Pradesh. And it is built around about 2500 years ago. In the previous chapter, we see that the kings, they don't maintain armies, and for war, the tribal units were mustered. But here, the new Rajas now began to maintaining armies, and the soldiers were paid regular salaries and maintained by king throughout the year. And some coins were used, that is punch-marked coins are used here. So now they began to maintaining armies. Now we see about the taxes. We know that the Mahajanapadas were building huge forts and maintaining big armies. So they need more resources. So they started collecting regular taxes. The taxes like taxes on crops, taxes on craft persons, like taxes on goods through trade, like that they began to collecting taxes. In previous chapter we say there is no tax system and there is no maintaining big armies. Now we see that the Mahajanapadas, they are building huge forts and maintaining big armies, and in order to feed that, in order to doing that, they need more resources, and for that they started collecting regular taxes. And what are the other changes in agriculture? There is change in agriculture. So there are two major changes in agriculture. One was the growing use of iron plowshare. The one was the growing use of iron plowshares. So it was the one major change. So what are the uses of iron? So by using iron plowshares, which means the heavy, so it could be turned over better than with a wooden plowshare. So it means the more grains could be produced. So there is a change in agriculture. By using iron, we can turn over the soil. That is, the heavy soil can be turned over better than by using the wooden. So which implies or which lead to more grain could be produced. This is the one change. And the second is people began to transplanting paddy. People began to transplanting paddy, and these are the two changes, major changes. One is use of iron pressure, and second is transplanting paddy. By transplanting paddy, instead of scattering seeds on the ground from which plant would sprout, saplings were grown and then planted in the field, and it leads to increased production. So transplanting paddy, it leads to increased production, and the more plants are survived. So these are the two major changes in the agriculture. So now we look at the Magadha, a closer look at Magadha. Magadha became most important Mahajanapad. There are several Mahajanapadas, but the Magadha, it became most important among them. And in about 200 years, the Magadha became the most important Mahajanapada. And the location of Magadha, the many rivers such as Ganga and Son flowed through Magadha, and it is important for transport, water supplies, and making the land fertile. And also there are several parts of Magadha were forested, and because large part were forested, the elephant which lived in the forest could be captured and trained for the army. So elephants are used in the war. And also we know the forest, they provide wood for building houses, carts and chariot. And the iron ore mines in the region, it is used to make strong tools and weapons. And these kind of resources made Magadha become more important Mahajanapada. And then there are several important powerful rulers of Magadha, which is Bimbisara and Ajatasattu, and also Mahapadmananda. These are important rulers. You know about the Alexander who lived in Macedonian Europe. He reached up to the banks of Peace, but when he wanted to march further eastward, his soldiers refused. Why? Because they were scared and had heard about the rulers of India and had vast armies of foot soldiers, chariot and elephants. So his soldiers, they refused to march further eastward. And this shows how powerful the rulers were there at Magadha. A closer look, Vaji. While Magadha became a powerful kingdom, Vaji, with its capital at Vaishali, present Bihar, was under a different form of government known as Jana or Sangha. So in this type of government, in Jana or Sangha, there were not one but many rulers, and each one was known as Rajas. So in Jana or Sangha, there is no one ruler, there are many rulers, and each one of was known as Raja. And these Raja performed rituals together. So they met in assemblies and decided what had to be done and how through discussion and debates. So what is special in Vaji? There is a different form of government known as Gana or Sangha, and there is not one ruler but many rulers, and each one of known as Rajas, and they performed rituals together. Also we note that women Dasas and Kammagaras could not participate in these assemblies. The Rajas of powerful kingdoms tried to conquer the Sanghas. Nevertheless, these lasted for a very long time till about 1500 years ago, when the last of the Ganas or Sanghas were conquered by the Gupta rulers. And here we can find out that this account of Vajis, it is from Digha Nikaya, a famous Buddhist book, which contains some of speeches of Buddha. These were written about 2300 years ago. And here we see about Ajatasattu and the Vajis. The Ajatasattu wanted to attack the Vajis, and he sent his minister named Vasagara to the Buddha to get his advice on the matter. So the Buddha asked whether the Vajis met frequently in full assemblies. When he heard that they did, he replied that the Vajis would continue to prosper as long as he. There are some suggestions. They held full and frequent public assemblies. They met and acted together, and like that, if the saints who followed different beliefs were respected and allowed to enter and leave the country freely. So if they met these things, they don't. If they met these things, they would continue to prosper. Now we study about some important dates. New kind of Rajas, it is about 3000 years ago. Mahajanapadas, it is about 2500 years ago. Alexander's invasion and the composition of Digga Nikaya, it is about 2300 years ago. End of Ganas or Sanghas, it's about 1500 years ago.